Okay, that was part one. This is part two. My computer ran out of space. So I'm going to show you how to do a handle quickly, how to repair a crack, and then how to put the handle on and put some of this underglaze on. So if you have a crack, I'm going to make a crack. If you have a crack, squeeze the clay on either side of the crack until you have clay overlapping. So you have the crack, you squash one side, that'll move it forward. You squash this side, that'll squash it. And then you have your two layers overlapping. Then you aggressively squeeze those two layers together. So I'll show you. I'm going to squeeze this side. And then this side. So now those layers are overlapping. And now I'm going to squash them together. This is great clay. It's really malleable and it does things like that easily. So I don't know where the crack was, but it's repaired. That's fine. There's another crack in there somewhere. No, it looks good. Looks good. I while we were offline, I made this a little taller. There's a crack. I kind of like that shape. Kind of close to what we were shooting for. It's not as tapered, but it's okay. I'm gonna modify the walls just a little bit, making them more uniform instead of making them sort of a consistent taper. That's good. You know what? I'm going to add a top edge because some of you might want to do that. So if you don't like this edge that's on there, grab a small amount of clay. And roll out a coil. The thinner the coil, I think, the better off you're going to be. I'm not going to use slip. You can use slip to join things, or you can just scratch things up, wet them, or you can just be very aggressive pushing two pieces together. Here's a tool that should be in your toolkit, something of that sort. And I'm going to scratch all the way down this coil, and then I'm going to cross hatch it going the other way so that I'm getting scoring going like that. And then I'm going to squirt this with some water and set it aside and start on the handle. We'll let that get mushy. You can score the top edge also of this and give this a squirt and let it sit. There's a lot of ways to do everything in ceramics. There's more than one way to do everything. The important thing is to keep in mind what you intend on having happen, and then make it happen. So don't get caught up in the technique too much. Make sure that your goal is always in the back of your mind. I think sometimes people get too focused on the technique of what they're doing and they forget where they want to go with it and sort of get lost in technique. So I want to put a coil on the top here. There's more ways than one way to do it. But each way you can do it improperly and it'll come off. So if I weren't to scratch and score and just do it without that, I'd really have to mash the one to the other. If I were using slip and scoring and then adding slip, I could pretty much just lay it on there. So if there's a situation where you don't want to be squishing the top edge, you just want to have it look as you made it, put it on there, then maybe scoring and putting some slip on, and then that slip and the scoring will just naturally blend. I'm putting just water on and letting the water sort of saturate that area, and then I'm going to be kind of aggressive about pinching it. But not uber aggressive, because I've got the water. First I'm going to gently lay it in its place. I am inside the cup, so that coil is not laying directly on top of the top edge. It's just tucked inside. You know, if my arm's the top edge, it's just inside the top edge. And now I'm going to push down and squeeze all the way around, and then I'll go all the way around a second time. I'm squeezing enough to ensure that the two sides are merging, but I'm not squeezing it so much that I'm distorting my top edge. It might get a little bigger no matter what you do, and then maybe you'll have to kind of gently tuck it in. So I went around once. I'm going to do it again, and this time I'm concentrating on the bottom of the coil on the inside. So I'm squashing down the lower half of the coil, pushing that into the walls of the cup. So my thumb is pushing down. It's resting on the coil, and then I'm pushing down. My index finger is just supporting so that I don't distort the shape too much. And this will also beef up the top edge so it'll be less likely to break. Let's say if it's in the sink and you put another cup down and you clunk on top of this one, this extra coil will just beef it up a little bit, and it will be less likely to chip. Also, if you have some cracks that you were struggling to repair, this will take care of that. Also, it kind of leaves a nice top edge. So as a design element, it's now got this gentle line around the top edge that I like. And I like to leave a lot of process in my pots. The glaze and the underglaze are going to soften that anyway. Might disappear, it might not. So now I'm going to make a handle. The handle is, I'm going to put this here, This is a low tech handle. I'm going to roll out a coil and then squeeze it with this part of my finger. I'm going to do that all the way down it, staying away from either end. So naturally, either end is going to be a little beefier. So you can see on this how the top and the bottom of the handle are a little big, or a lot bigger than the handle itself. These handles are kind of thin. I might want to work on my technique and make them feel, I don't know, that actually feels quite nice, that handle. So we'll see how this works. I'm going to tap down either end to encourage that bigger side on the top and the bottom. Now I'm grabbing it like so, and I'm going to squeeze and compress. And so it'll get thinner, and then it'll sort of extrude out either end of my fingers. I do it on the tabletop. I'm holding this up so you can see it. And again, don't be absorbed in the technique so much. Remember, I want this end to be bigger, I want this end to be bigger, and you have to make that happen. I don't assume that doing a technique will give you the results that you want. You want to utilize the technique to get to where you're going. I'm trying to play golf these days, and the opposite is true. You can't try to hit the ball. It's crazy. You try to hit the ball, you hit the ground for some reason behind the ball. You have to rely on your technique. You don't just to forget that you're trying to hit the ball. Just make a nice, easy swing. It's a nutty sport. Everything else I do, if you try harder, if I try harder, I get better at it. Golf, if I try harder, I get worse. It's crazy. So I'm listening to my own criticism. I thought that my other handle had too sharp of an edge and it was too wide. So I'm trying to make this a little duller than my other pot, so it's not quite a sharp edge. This is not quite big enough yet. It's 4 fingers across right now. I need to make it a little longer. I'm staying away from the top and bottom. The top and the bottom don't have to be the same. Sometimes it's nicer if the bottom is heavier weight than the top. So you might, it's just natural. One side might be bigger than the other, and that'll look great. And then I use the table as though it were the side of the pot. So this surface here, I'm imagining is this surface here, and I'm going to make this part and this part sit flat on the table, and I'm going to continue to do the squishing while I'm in that position. So you can see I squashed the whoops, that's not working so well. I'm squashing this so that the bottom part now is coming in at an angle. This used to be out here, and now it's pushed in. I'm going to keep doing that. It feels like it's a little bit small. And for a shape to aim for, think of half of a Valentine's heart. So the heart shape. Just take half of that, and that's a very good handle shape to shoot for. And then as you get a little better at it, then you can start to alter that shape if you don't quite like it. But it's a good shape to aim for to start with. So there's my handle. Now that surface is too flat. It's not going to fit on the curved edge of my pot. So you can use your thumb and bend it like so that it's curvy. Or what I like to do is use a rolling pin. So if you have a rolling pin, I like to press it over the cylinder or the rolling pin. And so now I'm imagining how this is going to feel in my hand. And I think that's looking good. So now I'm going to score both sides with my scoring tool. Be pretty aggressive with the scoring. So if you don't have a scoring tool and you're using a pin tool to score with, you really have to go over this quite a bit, make some deep cuts and a lot of cuts. And then I don't have slip today. I'm just using water. You actually could use the underglaze as a adhesive to get the two sides to stick together. You just paint a little bit of color on this and over there. And I'll do that because there is an advantage to doing that. It shows you exactly where to score on the other side. So I've got the underglaze on there. And I'm going to hold this up, kind of figure out where I want it. That looks good. And then kind of make a print with the underglaze. And now I'm going to score that area. So now I know exactly where I need to slip and score or spray the water. And it's going to stick for sure. I'll use underglaze here. You know, all these things depend on your plan. So if this color, color squeezing out from your handle is not part of your plan, then don't do it. So I'm going to push as firmly as I can without distorting the handle or the pot. I push till I sort of I'm seeing the color, the blue color, squeeze out a little bit. Got to be able to fit your hand in there. That's kind of tough. I like that. Now, people then go on to fuss with the handle. So, for instance, the bottom area where the handle meets the pot here, sometimes that doesn't look great. Sometimes people want to change that a little bit. So they make this tapered coil. So it comes to a point on either side. And then I'm going to score this a little bit. Put a little bit of stuff on here. I don't have to score that. I think it's going to work fine. And then you drop this in place. And then I like to use the back of my my pin tool for this. But anything that, you know, like the back of the paintbrush will also work. And I'm just going to blend that so that instead of having that that handle loop in and be kind of a sharp, where the handle comes down and meets the pot, there's that sharp joint right there, that transition from handle to pot. Sometimes there's a little sharp crevice there that's not visually pleasing. If you don't like it, then you can just add a small coil and it makes the handle sort of join, kind of comes down and does this, joins the pot. So looking at the bottom part where the handle just meets the mug. This looks like it's a little too horizontal. I'm going to push that a little bit. Maybe there's too much clay down here. I'm going to cut that, maybe cut a little bit of that away. This is now fussing details that this is a fun part for me, you know, making it the way I like it. And the way that stuff works for me is I make it the way that I would want it to be if I were using it. So that's my sort of yardstick. Quality control is, do I want to use it? Or would you, making your thing, are you making something that you would enjoy drinking coffee out of in the morning? So there's that. I think we're getting over time. I don't know, my thing's not reading anymore. Let's see here. Oh, we're going way over. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm just gonna do my drizzly glaze on here. I'm gonna do, you know, this sort of a thing. You know, the thing about it these days is if you want a cup, you can get a really nice cup for like $4 at IKEA. So it's well designed, it functions well, it's got a nice shape to it. So I encourage people to do stuff that they wouldn't run across in a store. So generally that's making things a little messy. Just because it's difficult for, you know, manufacturers to sell stuff that's just a little bit messy. You know, it's only going to hit the mark. It's going to hit the mark less times. So if you have something that's nice, well designed, the weight's nice and everything, more people are going to buy it. To make something a little odd, there's going to be a small number of people who like it that way. So anyway, I try to encourage people to get a little wacky. So I'm just going to put this on in a runny way. I don't know what these colors are. This has got to be black. Really have to thank Charlotte for mixing these things up. And what I'm going to do is let this dry, and you won't see it happen. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to clean the bottom off because I don't want to pick it up all gooey. So you just got to be patient with this stuff. I should have a piece of paper underneath that. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm going to let it dry, and then not mess up the drip. So this is pretty much it, part 1 and part 2. It's been my pleasure, even though I don't know you yet. Maybe someday, after all this craziness is over, we'll have a real class. Try not to, contaminate my colors too much. I'm much more careless about this than you would in a studio community situation where you don't want to mess up, get one color in with the other colors, but I kind of like to work fast, so I don't always clean the brush. I'm not a big fan of this clay body without color on it. So the clay body by itself, it's a great clay body to be in a wood kiln or to work with. It's awesome. But I often like to leave exposed clay because I like there to be contrast, dry and wet. Shiny, not shiny, shiny and matte. But this glaze fired in an electric kiln I don't like so much. So I'm going to cover all the clay. I'm sorry, I misspoke there. I'm going to cover all the clay with slip. And then maybe I won't glaze some of it. Maybe it'll just be a dry area at the bottom. I don't think so. I think I'll glaze the whole thing. Sometimes I don't like that. It's like a song, and the song is all the same volume. You like to listen to music. It gets loud and soft. Sometimes if the pots are always all shiny, it's a little too much. But in this case, I think we need to get a lot of color on there and glaze all of it. So this is the last color, I think. Yep. That's going to be outstanding. I can't wait to drink coffee out of that. All right, thanks a lot. I hope I didn't go too far over the time limit, and I'll see you in the Zoom meeting next week, I guess, or whenever. I have to read the schedule, consult with Hadley and Charlotte. All right, thank you very, very much.